Buenos días, buenas tardes, y buenas noches. Bonjour, bonsoir, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. Slater Kate. It is the 28th. It is the 28th of July, 2026, and this video is dedicated to a brief update on the big debate from yesterday. The big debate from yesterday was which of these statements is true, because we do have a rift in the accident group. We do have an enormous number that are just sitting on the fence saying, I just don't know if that site, the Open Court Data UK site, is legit, if it's genuine, or if it is something that is all made up. Most of the AG just sitting on the fence, they don't want to commit. But we have two distinct and contradictory paths that have opened up. And during the day, there hasn't really been a lot of movement because most of the AG are cowards by nature. We'll get into that subject a little bit later, but most of the AG are cowards by nature. They don't like to commit to a particular argument because they feel very, very embarrassed if the rest of their little hypocritical, sanctimonious gang turn on them. It's another reason why they don't put their face on camera, they don't put their voice out there, they don't actually engage in any real debates. They're keyboard warriors because they are so scared they're going to be tripped up and say something a bit stupid. So, on this subject of is that information about Stephen Rockas going to court in May, is it legitimate or not, we have this divergence. Now, we have on the one hand Lorree, who did a little bit of her own digging and said that yes, the case is legitimate. Her exact words, I'd say the info on the site is legit. And her words are very important here because I'm going to back her up on these words. I'd say the info on the site, we're talking about Open Court Data UK, is legit. And that's all that matters. Everything else about that site is of no relevance whatsoever. If it's only 2 months old, so what? If it has some malware attached to it, so what? We're only interested in the information contained on that site. And as Lorree says, the info on the site is legit. Everything that site says about the present court case involving Paige Cherry Crisp in Birmingham is absolutely 100% accurate. There has not been one single person in the accident group or anywhere that I can see on the planet that has come forward to say this information that is posted by Open Court Data UK is wrong. There is nothing out there that says that. AI will tell you it is a legitimate site, it's used by the media, it's used by all sorts of bodies. The information there is good. AI backs it up, Lorree backs it up, I back it up. There's no one out there saying there's anything information-wise that is to be doubted on that site. And yet, oh boy, do we have a very, very reluctant and grudging accident group that just can't bring themselves to say what Lorree has said. And on the other side, we have this path that has been created by the ever dumb, although I found someone dumber than him, believe it or not, the ever dumb Luggy, the ever dumb Ivor Lovelace, who has said that that site is a scamming fake in regards to Stephen Rockas. A scamming fake, he calls that site. Well, interesting. I pointed out yesterday that no one else in the accident group, no one, I think, no one else on this planet is backing Luggy, and that might be why he hasn't put out a single post today. He's hiding in his basement, licking his wounds, with his tail between his legs, feeling very, very down about things, I would say. Now, no surprise that the ever sycophantic and hypocritical Kaz Alice has said, well, both statements are true. I don't think anyone's lying here because I posited the question to the accident group. I said, which one of these is lying? Is it Ivor Lovelace saying that that site is a scamming fake? Is that a lie? Or is Lorree lying when she says it's legit? Kaz Alice doesn't like the word lie because she thinks Luggy's analysed that site, and for some unbelievable reason, with the powers of analysis that Luggy has, he's come up with the wrong impression that's a scamming fake. Let's not call it a lie, Kaz Alice. Let's call it just simple misinformation. Not disinformation, but just simple misinformation. So my point to the accident group was, in this example, of someone in your clan, whether it be Lorree or whether it be Luggy, which one is giving out quite willfully misinformation that could indeed hurt the very, very fragile feelings of a grieving family up in Oswald Twistle. Because I really don't think the likes of Debbie Duncan, when she thinks of Stephen Rockass, one of the last two people under whose roof her poor son spent the last couple of hours of his life, if you like, I really don't think Debbie Duncan likes the idea that one of those two men, you know, is up for the SA charge. I mean, it's going to bring some horrible thoughts to her head. Oh, and yet, the accident group don't seem particularly perturbed by that, now do they? Who cares about the grieving mother? It's fine to put out contradictory statements. Yeah, the accident group that are so protective, it seems, of the grieving mother are suddenly saying, well, both these statements could be true. What do you think, Debbie Duncan? Let me throw out some misinformation your way, Debbie, and yeah, see how you take it. What do you think now? You see, it's got to be in the back of the mind. It's in the back of my mind. It's got to be in the back of Debbie's mind if this Stephen Rockass charge has merit. What does that mean to Ayub's words? I'm just saying, if this SA charge, this charge that is of a sexual nature, if this stands against Stephen Rockass, and believe me, to get to a Crown Court these days, the bar that you have to pass from the prosecutorial side has to be pretty darn high. I'm not saying Rockass is guilty. Presumed innocent in the eyes of the law. Whether he's innocent or not, no one knows. I'm just saying it's got to be in the back of the mind when Ayub's words are now ringing in Debbie's head. Just pop into the room of my mate. He's got a charger by his bed. You can use that. You see, a lot of us felt that statement was off. A lot of us said at the time, that's not what happens in the real world. You've got a 19-year-old lad, you've taken up into the mountains, a place he's never been before, in a house he's never been before. The toxicology report tells you what kind of condition this lad is in. And the 30-something man is saying, just pop into that room there. Yeah, my mate's asleep in there. He's in his bed in there. And by his bed, there's a charger, lad. You just pop in there and take that charger. Felt off to some of us at the time, not to the accident group, not to Chris Pennington. Chris Pennington's out there saying, these lads, just because they're out of jail and had a long sentence for narco convictions, well, it doesn't mean anything, said Chris Pennington. In fact, he said, you're destroying people's lives if you insinuate they might have committed a crime. Well, lo and behold, CP, how did that age? Turns out, it seems, if these charges stand, one of them has committed a subsequent crime. Peter Pennington, when are you going to take your lad in hand and teach him to start talking sense? Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it, Peter? No, there's Chris Pennington. Nothing wrong with these lads. Oh, I'm saying, I'll put it on record. In my humble opinion, there's a lot wrong with these lads. Chris, Peter, Kaz, Debbie, Warren, Zach. There's a lot wrong with these lads. And when Debbie was shrugging her shoulders, saying, "Oh, I might have a question for one of them in the future, maybe," that tells you all you need to know about the concerns Debbie really had for what her son went through that night. In my book. Turn to Debbie in just a second. Haven't finished with her. So yeah, the great divide. Which one of those statements is true? I've got a feeling. I'll put money on the table now. I'll put my money where my mouth is here. I've got a feeling that on this occasion, Lorree has it right. That open court data UK site is legit. Its information is pulled from the courts across the UK, and it's right. It's good. You can go with it. I think Lorree's got it right. Not for the first time in his life, Lord Lugworm has got it totally wrong. He's babbled nonsense, saying that it is, what was it? A scamming fake site. He hasn't got a bloody clue what he's saying. And what he does say is just absolute bullshit. So I'm going with Lorree on this. Luggy's got it wrong yet again. And anyone in the accident group that starts backing Luggy on this, you need your bloody head examined, quite honestly. It's obvious, I think, to the sane of this world who's got this right. And it ain't Luggy. I wanted to talk a little bit about Debbie Duncan. The future of Debbie Duncan, the demise of Debbie Duncan. Now, whether you're a Debbie Duncan fan or not, whether you're a sympathizer or not, I'm not, in case you hadn't noticed. I think her future is really, really bleak, and I'll explain why. One of Debbie's great gambits was, of course, Jay's Law. She's been given really bad advice all along the line, whether the advice has come from Kaz Alice, whether the advice has come from Ivor Lovelace, whether the advice has come from Chris Pennington, whether the advice has come from Sarah Smith, whether the advice has come from Rach. Whoever has been advising Debbie Duncan has given her the most rotten advice. And this is where it's led her to. Jay's Law failed ignominiously with a pathetic total of signatures, and more importantly, in her home base, her home constituency of Hindburn or Hydeburn, whichever it's pronounced, in the Accrington area, the locals that signed it were very, very low in number. And that was a slap in the face for Debbie Duncan. It was also a slap in the face for Sarah Smith. But Sarah Smith was able to jump off the ship because this is just a hobby horse for Sarah Smith. This is not her life. Yeah? For a few minutes, if you like, Sarah Smith could have embraced Debbie and be on her side and do the interviews, get the media appearances, and yeah, glam, glam, glam. Sarah Smith could do all that, no problem at all. But in the face of defeat, and it is defeated, there is no one in Parliament meeting and talking about bloody Jay's Law. It is dead and buried, and Debbie knows it, Luggy knows it, the whole world knows it. Sarah Smith is just able to move on and sail on into the sunset. No problem. In fact, I have a theory that someone had a word with Sarah Smith, and they said, 2 pieces of bad news, Sarah. Number 1, Debbie Duncan, your new best friend here, ain't actually liked in the Accrington, Oswald Twistle area. You know, our polling shows, Sarah, there are more people that dislike her and say Jay had it coming. You know, the Tom Hilton side of our constituency, they're not on your side, Sarah. The polling looks bad for you. And there's Sarah saying, well, what's the other piece of bad news? I've got a feeling Sarah was told the other piece of bad news is these so-called tragedy trolls you keep talking about. Well, Sarah, the tragedy trolls are actually quite popular. People seem to like listening to them. You know, they get quite rave reviews from their own little club. I don't think hammering away at these tragedy trolls, especially as you can never name them, Sarah, ain't working in your favour either. And I think this is reality for Debbie. The reality for Debbie now is that Sarah Smith has abandoned her. All the powers that be in Parliament have abandoned her. She has no support out there. The people that are still hammering away at all the faults of Debbie Duncan. Debbie Duncan tried to suppress free speech. That whole Jay's Law thing was about getting rid of people like me commenting on her case, Jay's case. And it failed. People like me will be here forever, despising, absolutely despising the aims and ambitions of someone like Debbie Duncan. You touch my free speech, you're an enemy forever. End of. That's it. So the people that purported to be the friends of Debbie, they're vanishing. Whether it be Kaz, whether it be Luggy, whether it be Sarah Smith, they all are slowly pulling away. And as the future goes on, Debbie will be left with fewer and fewer and fewer people that could actually be called a friend. She, and I believe Warren and Zach, will just be left alone. Apart from the people, like myself, that will always remember things like getting the Mirror to intervene to take a channel down. That will never leave my memory. And so forevermore, the likes of Debbie Duncan will be absolutely hammered and criticised for what she tried to do. Those that are against Debbie Duncan will remain so forever and will be vociferous forever. Those that fake embraced Debbie Duncan are, I believe, disappearing rather quickly. And that's not good for her. It's what she deserves, But it's not good for her. You will notice in the comments of late, in the accident group, and I spend a lot of time engaged with them because I'm fascinated about how they think, what they say, and what they don't say, and what they won't do. You see, another example of the weakness of Debbie Duncan's cause is that you'll notice not one of her friends, supporters, accident group people in general, not one of them will do a single thing to actually confront what people like me say. Confront in the sense of we never get an email from them, we never get our names mentioned by any of them. Yeah, you know, during these TV interviews, you never hear anyone saying, well, what type of tragedy trolls are we talking about here? What channels would you like to mention? That never happens. They can't do it. And why can't they do it? Why can they never write to us? Why can they never talk to us in a live? Why can they never actually communicate to us other than the insulting messages? It's because they know that that one email, that one message, that one live where their voice is recorded and kept forevermore could sink the ship. I'm not exaggerating. One thing said in error that is recorded and kept forever is an Achilles heel. One email that comes from a solicitor that gets challenged. And believe me, I would challenge it. I would get someone that knows this type of law to say, here's the solicitor's letter. Here's my position. I want to fight this. Let's go. And that is why none of the content creators, correct me if I'm wrong, no one in our community has ever received either email or actual letter from anyone telling us that we shouldn't be saying this or warning us about something about our behavior. It's never happened. And it never will. And it's because the likes of Debbie Duncan know that she's on this very frail platform where one mistake, one Janie, take Janie as an example. Oh, Janie was so confident that she could defeat that Glasgow lawyer, Matt Burlow. She went into that tribunal with her legal knowledge and her sense of crusade and right, and she was going to win the day with the Scottish Law Society behind her. Oh, yes, Janie was our gal when she took on Matt Burlow. Except she lost. She had 4 claims against Burlow, all 4 were dismissed, and the tribunal concluded that Janie Gobshite from Glasgow, Elliot, had been, what are the words, vague, contradictory. Yeah. She hadn't come across very well. She failed. It's not because the likes of Janie don't want to debate me. They'd love to. They'd love to have the chance to try to humiliate me and show me wrong. But they know they make one slip. And unlike a written message, it cannot be edited, it cannot be deleted, it cannot be withdrawn. One email, one word that is said verbally and recorded, the slightest thing they know they can't say. Because if this goes one step further into any branch of law where they have to be defending themselves, they know the whole J. Slater case could erupt. And that is why, it's one reason I have felt very, very confident in my position from day one. I told you, these threats are just that. They ain't gonna do anything. Nothing. They can't. People like Luggy can say there's a man on the street and he's got an eye on where you are, Duncan. Sure, go ahead and say it. If ever the fool Luggy ever tried to do anything like that, the repercussions would be, for me, actually pretty minimal. But the repercussions for Slug World Worm, Debbie Duncan Worm, World, AG World, could be horrific. They know it. That's why they can only be bullies and never actually do a damn. But I wanted to go back to the idea of how Debbie Duncan is still used on occasions, and the word is used, by the accident group. Whenever the accident group need that human shield to protect their fragile situation, they will put forward this human shield of Debbie Duncan, the Grieving Mother. As long as people like Jugglers can put forward Debbie Duncan, the grieving mother, Debbie Duncan, the grieving mother. Here's Debbie Duncan, the grieving mother. Now you can't attack us because we're behind Debbie Duncan, the grieving mother. It's still used. Debbie is still used as a human shield on occasions. Today was no exception. Let's just have a quick look at what Jugglers said. Jugglers was outraged that Sally Titanic had something, I don't know, something negative to say about Debbie. I think Sally Titanic said she was concerned about Debbie, something like that. And Jugglers said, concerned? Addressing this to Sally, not to me. He said, concerned? Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, question mark. How dare you, says Jugglers, how dare you say you are concerned for a mother with a capital M? You've got to understand that Debbie Duncan is not just a mother with a small m. You see, she has been created as a saint. Debbie is some kind of angelic host, a halo above the head. For people like Jugglers, Debbie Duncan isn't the person that smirks and shrugs and says, well, I might contact the person that was last with my son at some point. I don't know. I don't know what I would ask him. I don't know. Some point I might. Yeah, the reality of the shoulder-shrugging, smirking mother that has no question for Ayub, that doesn't exist in Juggler world. In Juggler world, the mother is capital M, the saint. Yeah, the mother, capital M, you have tried to destroy over 2 years. I replied to that. Because when someone says, how dare you, I like to reply with, how dare you? I said to Jugglers, how dare you whine about anyone trying to, quote, destroy a mother? Small m, no capital M needed there. Debbie Duncan is not some holy saint. When said mother has done all in her power to remove free speech rights from citizens and then refused to do the right things in order to find out what happened to her poor son. I said to Jugglers, defending DD is like defending the very process of obstruction of justice itself. You hypocritical half-wit. I didn't hold back there because Jugglers, in my opinion, is a hypocritical half-wit. Jugglers is one of those people that can't actually defend an idea. He can only move forward the grieving mother because the grieving mother is like pawns on a chessboard. You can sacrifice them. You can do what you like with them as long as you've got this piece on your board that you're prepared to move forward and then toss it aside. That works for your argument. People like Jugglers can't actually argue without introducing the grieving mother card. It's a trump card that they feel works every time. It doesn't anymore because, now I'm tying up what I'm saying here, it doesn't work anymore because far too many people have abandoned the grieving mother. Whether it be Sarah Smith, whether it be the Mirror Group, whether it be Breakfast TV, no one's interested and no one cares about Debbie Duncan anymore. Oh, I mean, it's possible on the 3rd anniversary of Jay Slater's, disappearance, the Mirror might do a 5-minute spot. Oh, how you doing, Debbie? 3 years on. Oh, yeah, much the same, Grin and bear it, life goes on. Yet we might have a 3rd anniversary interview along those lines, possibly. I doubt it. I think this is it. Meaning the Mirror have no more interest in this story, and therefore Debbie Duncan can just go away. Yeah. Sarah Smith, bigger fish to fry. Now it's Andy Burnham talk. Debbie can just go away. Yeah. Accident group in general can't defend the woman. She can just go away. Only a few people like Jugglers. Oh, every now and then, I think we do need Debbie. Bring the pawns back on the chessboard. Yeah, let us use the human shield of Debbie here. As long as we can use Debbie as grieving mother, then we can point fingers at other people and say, how dare you? How dare you? I'm calling you out, Jugglers. How dare you use Debbie Duncan as your trump card and human shield just to make a sad, pathetic point that no longer holds true. Debbie, update for you Jugglers, doesn't have the universal sympathy she once had. That little trump card ain't working for you anymore. And as you know, Jugglers, Debbie's in a very precarious situation here. You can't make a video and criticize anything I've said. because you'll end up saying something you'll regret. You can't, jugglers, join me on a live, on a Zoom call and actually debate word for word. I will record it and keep it unedited. And you make one slip, jugglers, and the whole legal case against the accident narrative may well blow up in your face. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the true reason why no one ever writes an email to us, no one ever communicates verbally. They know one slip and they are done. And I like that. I like that a lot. Because I can do this all day, every day. They just have to sit there, listen, bite their tongue. Oh, get a little tantrum going over there on the keyboard, spew a little vile, talk to Melissa about how much runway she's got left, whatever the topic of the day is. Argue amongst themselves about this site is valid. No, this site is scamming. They can do all that. Typing away, typing away, typing away. They can't interact normally. They can't just chat with someone that has a disagreement with them. They can't do it. They are scared rigid. And I, for one, love it, because that's the way it's always going to be. We've had some good victories along the road, but this one's a big one. Excellent group. You have been effectively silenced. Hasta luego, adios, hasta la vista. See you next time. Adios.